Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dimes with Dara on the Joy Slot podcast, brought to you by IrisSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Lamong, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Dara Mabry. We are going to talk a little bit about the women's basketball team here. It's been a little while. Things are going off in the portal, Dara, and players from the Notre Dame football team are leaving the team. They're joining the team. There's tons of news. You were off in Florida, running socials, working. This is my main takeaway, okay? Dara, you are the busiest person. I can't honestly thank you so much for being on this podcast. You're doing this, you're doing sideline reporting, you're doing color commentary, you're running off in Florida, doing whatever it may be. You're busy, right? You're keeping busy, you're doing rehab, prepping. So you've got a lot going on. I've got a lot going on. But we got to make time for the Dimes with Dara podcast, because there's still a lot going on with the ladies basketball team. 7-1, ranked 14th in the country, and we just want to do a quick little check in on them and see how you think things are going, where things are after 8 games, as we kind of get into the ACC slate that's going to be coming up at the end of, or at the start of January, after these next couple of games. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If this is your first time catching this show, please subscribe to the show. Please like this show. And please hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we are going live, or we are going releasing a video, anything of that like that. We'll be doing some more live shows once the ACC schedule ramps up and we get out of the football season with all this portal madness. And speaking of the portal and making changes, if you want to make a change and you want to transfer out some of your terrible old dress shirts, then what you can do is you can gift a dress shirt for yourself. You can gift a dress shirt for your husband or your brother. Your brother, Dara, young Ryan Mabry's out there. He needs some good stuff, and so you can go to ESQclothing.com and check out their bamboo dress shirt, which you've seen on all of Notre Dame's favorite players, or all your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches. It's the world's most comfortable dress shirt, made of sustainable bamboo fibers. The bamboo shirt is naturally odor resistant, wrinkle resistant, even machine washable, 3 degrees cooler than cotton, so you can sweat it out in the final 2 minutes of every basketball game for the remainder of the season. Get ahead of the holiday season. Use ISD25 to get 25% off your online purchase at ESQclothing.com, or visit God at Chicago showroom and get your perfect custom fit. That's ISD25 for 25% off. Dara, how are you? How are things? You're busy. I'm happy to get back to it. How have you been the last couple of weeks?
Great. The last couple of weeks have been a roller coaster. I was commentating some men's basketball games, and then went right to Florida, ran all social media for the IMLCA, which is a big lacrosse tournament. The first couple of days was like a coaches convention.
Yeah.
So I recorded a lot of business meetings and lacrosse on-field teaching things. And then I got to see the top players come in and compete, which was cool. I don't know much about lacrosse, but it was really nice to get out there and make some new connections and learn a lot about another sport that I'm not very educated in, but is very interesting to me. It's fun to watch. I also got to know the Notre Dame men's lacrosse staff a little bit better. Can't say enough good things about them. They are great people. So that was really nice. It was cool. Even though we're both from Notre Dame, we were joking how like it's like 2 different worlds, yet we're less than half a mile from each other on campus. And now I'm back home in New Jersey. I'm home early for the holidays for once, because when you're a student athlete, you get like 48 hours, and then you
That's right. Yeah.
Like, and I'm turning 24 soon, so I can't complain.
Well, congratulations on that. The 24.
Yeah.
When is your birthday?
The 21st.
We talked about this. You have the same birthday as my mom. That's right. So it's a very special time. 24. I am the inverse of that, so that's fantastic.
Whoa. Nice.
Yeah. So it's good. So Speaking of lacrosse, I mean, there's so much happening with lacrosse in Notre Dame right now. Tyler Buckner is coming back to the lacrosse team.
Super cool.
He's going to be returning to Notre Dame. Yeah, that's great. So it's awesome that he's going to be around. So there's going to be a lot more lacrosse talk, I guess, buzzing on the Notre Dame campus. Maybe you could do some lacrosse commentary, Dara. You can get in on that.
Right on.
So that'll be a fun time. So let's talk about the ladies. The last time we saw them was a nice victory over Lafayette, which is a blowout win, right? So they are they're 7-1 on the season. They suffered the opening loss to South Carolina, which is now the basically the unanimous number 1 team in the country. They have looked phenomenal throughout the year. So really no shame on Notre Dame for dropping that game there. But since then, 7-1. They're sitting at 92.1 points per game this year. They average scoring margin of plus 32, so they're winning their games by an average of 32 points right now. I would say their best wins are 100%, like against Illinois, the first game after Sony went down, and then in the neutral site game in the ACC SEC Challenge against Tennessee, which was a very nice win for them on the road. Comeback victory, which was great. Hannah again went off against Lafayette. I want to talk to you about Hannah Hidalgo. She was named the USA Player of the Year, which is a very high honor. I think she has been the Rookie of the Week in the ACC like 3 times now. I made a joke on the Twitter machine that they need to like just name the award the Hannah Hidalgo ACC Rookie of the Week. Like it's just like you can't give it to her every single time, but like she's going to make a case for it, and so just name the award after her. And let's get on to some other people. For the season, she's averaging essentially 24 points per game, 23.6. She's shooting 52% from the field as a guard. She's shooting 44% from the 3-point line. She leads the NCAA in total steals and steals per game at 6. And she's 7th in the NCAA in points per game, just overall. So this is not like among freshmen, it's amongst everyone. Dara, what is the precedent for this? Give me context. How good has she been in the first, I guess, couple months here?
I think obviously good is an understatement because she's been phenomenal. And even when I think we were on a pod, which game was it where she had like sort of an off night, but it wasn't even an off night?
It was the Tennessee game. She was like 5 for 17 or something.
Exactly, and they still came out. They
still won the game. Yeah,
I have to credit her there. Still, I mean, she's unbelievable. She's a generational player. You don't come across players like her all the time. She's very special, and I think that's why you hear a lot of people like compare her to Skylar because Skylar's also one of a kind. She doesn't change anything that she does. She shows up and she performs and does the same thing every single night. And that's because she practices it. I see her in there all the time, watching film down the court, looking for ways to get better. And I think the most impressive thing to me now is she's very quiet. She's a very reserved person. But now she's like really coming into a leadership role on this new team as a freshman. So I think that's, as someone that played, as someone that was a part of that team, that's the most impressive thing to me is we've been on these podcasts for, I don't know, a couple months now saying, okay, well, we need leadership here and we need leadership here. I think that she is starting to come into a leadership role. And that's just because of more and more games that are underneath her belt. But as a freshman, she's unbelievable. There's only so much that you can say about her. Every single possession, even if she doesn't touch the ball on offense or deflect it on defense, somehow in some way, she's going to make her presence known, whether that is screaming louder than everybody else that she's in help side or picking the poor point guard on the other team's pocket.
Yeah. So I think you touched on it just now, like the energy that she has on a play-to-play basis, right? Like on every possession, offense, defense, like she is 100% going, she's never off. Like she never turns it off from like a from just an attentiveness standpoint. And that's like really impressive again for a young player, stepping up in she's playing NCAA, like high level NCAA basketball, right? Like, so it's, go from high school to this level of the sport. It's just it's impressive that way. I'm curious. So like, if you were her opponent, you would be guarding her, right? Like, you play the same position. You would be tasked with guarding her. Like, when you watch her play, like, how do you feel like you would approach like trying to guard her? Like, what would you try to take away? Like, what kind of scares you? Like, what do you like when you see her play? Do you think like, man, I really want to force her left, but then she goes left and she does that, right? Like, so like, what do you, how do you kind of scout her as someone who just kind of like takes in the game, who would be playing her position, you would be guarding her?
I think if I was guarding her, or if like I was a coach directing a player to guard her, I would try to take away her vision, even though she's not like her passing ability. That's not what I mean. Like, take away her passing ability, because that's not her number one strength, but she's an aggressive scorer. So I remember when I would guard aggressive scorers, the reality was, okay, they're that good, so they're going to score. You're not going to hold them to 0. You're not going to hold them to 5, maybe 10. Contest her. I'm not long. I don't have length, but maybe throw another body at her, put length on her. So she switches it up. She has to alter what she's doing. Okay, maybe now she has to attack off the bounce instead of getting into her pull up with a guard on her. So try to fluster her, take away her vision, and she plays the whole game. So probably pick her up full court if you're fast enough to try to wear her down, because we know that short roster don't really have a backup point guard right now, because it's just going to be another guard swinging into that one spot. Tire her out, pick her up full court, essentially do to her what she does to other teams. So take away her vision, maybe throw a couple of different bodies at her to use length to maybe fluster her, and pick her up full court. Just try to tire her out. But you have to understand, at the end of the day, when you have players like that, you have superstars, they're going to get theirs. It's just a matter of what kind of shots can you force them into, because I had Coquise Washington was my position coach. And if I had a task of guarding the best players, she would always tell me and Sonia, they can't hit enough difficult shots to win the game. They can hit difficult shots to score, but they can't make enough of them to beat you. So force the best player into difficult shots, because in the fourth quarter, it's a lot harder to make fatigued, difficult shots than it is in the first. And that's one piece of advice defensively that I took it and ran with from her.
That's good stuff. That's good. I mean, because there is a certain element to, like you said, a player like her, like there's a hope they miss element to it, where it's like,
she's that good.
Like I can't keep her from shooting, and I can't. Like I can't keep her from getting to all of her spots, right? And so, and especially like as a freshman, you would try to and you would try to like wear her down, right? There is a certain physicality to the sport where it's like she's not going to be as conditioned today as she will be 3 years from now, right? Just being in a college
or
program.
even in March.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So but yeah, I mean, no one's been able to do it so far. The other part too is like she's so good at getting to the basket. She's very good at getting to the free throw line, right? She has at least she has more than double the free throw attempts that the next highest person does, which I believe is Maddie. Let me go check here. No, KK. Oh, is it KK? Here, let me look. Kylie's 24. KK's 22. Right. So they're at 22 and Hannah's at 43. Right. So she's very good at getting to the free throw line. And so that's another one where it's like she gets points and you're not guarding her at all in that instance. I think another kind of like a big thing in the last few games is the Surgents. I'm going to call it the Surgents. I don't think that's a word, but I'm going to say it anyway. The Nat Surgents there of Natalija Marshall. She's been off the bench. She's been playing very, very well. She's shooting 59% for the season. She's getting the ball inside, and she's making her presence felt there. Her offensive rebounding has really been the key to kind of getting extra possessions for the teams, right? So he has 27 offensive rebounds for the season. The next highest is Maddie at 22. And she's not playing, she hasn't been playing as many minutes as the other two, the bigs inside with Maddie and Kylie. But she started to, earn more minutes as that production has gone up. What have you seen from her and from the growth that you've seen from her, especially from last year?
Unbelievable growth. I mean, not even like from last year, from her time at Notre Dame. Yeah. She has stayed the course. She's persistent. And she's just the epitome of, okay, your opportunity came at an unexpected time and she's making the most of it. Even though she doesn't have as much experience as Maddie and Kylie, she still was practicing the whole time, her 4 years. So when she's out there, she looks experienced. Like she's a veteran, she's a senior, she's a leader on that team. I would say by example, and then just in a sense of like knowing what Niele wants because she's been there for 4 years. She has a very good relationship with Niele and her position coach. But the growth from her is so important because if you look at all the adversity around them, I feel like she's just been the glue. Like she's the one that brings everybody back together. If the other team goes on a run, she's coming in the game, she's subbing in, and she's going to get an O board, hit her little 15-foot jumper. And I mean, it sounds bad, but maybe like foul the crap out of somebody and, you use her attitude, use her length, her strength, all of it, and wear the other team out. Which is, it's something I mention that part specifically because it's hard when you have a short roster. Like you're fatigued. So she's coming in there. She's trying to make the other team fatigued, and she's not looking back. When Nat subs in the game, she's forward. She's going to do whatever she can at task. And I like her physicality. I like her attitude sometimes. She's not afraid to bite back. I know this because she is my best friend. We've been best friends since we were 12, essentially. So that attitude is nothing to play with. And I love when she comes in the game and uses it against the other team. It's just so fun to watch. And she's a great teammate too. So the vibe that she brings out there is like everything could be going to complete SHIT. And once again, Nat is going to be there to do something to get us out of that.
I feel like every team needs a player to step up. You don't know who it's going to be, right? Like you don't know. Like it could be anybody, and she's the one who has kind of stepped forward and taken on like a role, like in terms of like there's leadership on like a play-to-play basis, like you see from Hannah, but there's also leadership off the bench where it's like, hey, she comes in and she's like accountable. She's going to play hard and she's going to do all the necessary things. Like you said, she's going to get the offensive rebounds. She's going to hit her jumper. But hey, if I need to come in and be, I don't want to say enforcer because that's a little bit like there's too much of a negative connotation there. But it's like I'm going to exert my physicality here, and we're going to be a physical team. We're not going to back down, right? And so she's going to be that player too. And that's like I think every team needs that, especially when Sony went out. Right. You need that. You need it from upperclassmen, right? Yeah. And so so Notre Dame has gotten that. And speaking of Sony, still on track for the end of December to return as the team gets into the ACC, which is very important, right? They need to get her back. They only have 2 games before the end of the year. They have, at least I think I have that right. They play Sunday against Purdue, and then they have a game 2 days later, the 21st against, I can't remember who it is now. I looked it up. They have a game on the 21st though. And so is the
Western Michigan?
Central. I believe it's Central Michigan. Yes. Thank you for that. So they have those 2 games, right? And then they get another little break, and then they get into the ACC. They get into the ACC schedule. So that's going to be a good kind of time for them. They kind of weathered that storm with Sony, right? They got a break. It wasn't a bad injury for her, so that's very good. But you get into the you get into the bulk of the ACC schedule. And that's another thing I wanted to talk to you about. How kind of things are looking in terms of, let's talk about the ACC specifically, right? So Notre Dame's 14. NC State looks amazing. They're sitting at number 3 there. Virginia Tech 7-2, they're just below, and then you've got Miami there, you've got North Carolina there. So you've got teams at the lower half of the top 25, with the top team being NC State. How do you feel like the ACC is shaking out for Notre Dame right now?
Great. I think that championship is something that is very, I mean, obviously that's at the top of their goal list, but I think that that is more than doable. Like, they have the pieces that they need. They've proved that they clearly don't need a big roster. I mean, if that's not Notre Dame at this point, given all the adversity we've faced even years ago with the 2018 group, I mean, we've proved that we don't need 10 bodies. It's nice to have them, but I think what they're learning right now is that they're coming together, and what a better time to do that before you kick off essentially a new season. That's the word that goes around the ACC. When it's time to play in the ACC and that season kicks off at end of December, early January, you say it's a new season. I think Virginia Tech, obviously very doable for them too. I think NC State is up there. I would like to see more of them go on throughout the year. UNC also looking very good. They played South Carolina to a really good game the other day, and then fell to UConn, but still maybe trying to find their way a little bit. But I think they're up there too. But you can't sleep on anybody else. That's the thing in the ACC, is that any given night anybody could upset any team. I just watched the other night. I saw Clemson like really take it to Duke on their home floor. They got some senior leaders. They got a different point guard, and Amanda Butler was coaching them really hard, really well, and they really took it to Duke. I would expect to see probably all the ones that we talked about. So Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, UNC, and NC State. But I mean, Miami, I think they're so good. They're really well coached. Katie Meyer knows exactly what she's doing with them. And her players, she creates this culture and this atmosphere where it's so easy to buy into what she's saying. And you can tell that her players are bought into what she's doing. And that's a dangerous thing for other teams, especially down the stretch, because then it just comes down to discipline. I think Miami's going to get some really, really big wins, and probably, again, like they've done the past couple of years, find their way in that ACC tournament in Greensboro. Or I think it moved to Charlotte this year. Correct me.
Okay. Who what is I guess you went in on Miami a little bit there. Who is the team that you feel like, because I think, you know, you look to like the NC States, like they're good. They're going to give everyone kind of trouble, right? And Virginia Tech as well. But who in the ACC do you look at who you feel like, you know, they're not one of the top teams, but you watch them play and you know their style of play, and you think that's going to be a tough one for Notre Dame? Like they're going to give Notre Dame trouble based on what Notre Dame is right now.
I think we have them at home though this year, so that makes a really big difference. I was going to say, from what I've watched in NC State, they push the ball in transition a lot and they shoot open threes, and we don't have great transition defense.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, Duke is a very defensive oriented team. And we're going to need multiple ball handlers that game to really keep putting pressure on them the whole game. Because if you go into Duke and you let them apply the pressure the whole game, that's not going to work in your favor. But I think that if we come out and we punch first and we keep that ball rolling, basketball's game of runs. Everyone's going to go on their run. It's going to go like this, and that's going to happen. But I think that if we're the aggressor in that game, it'll be okay. But if you're not the aggressor against a defense like that, it's tough.
Do you think transition defense is just going to be a fatal flaw on this team? Like it's just the way the team is? Like, do you see a fix? Like, does Sony coming back fix that? Does Liv coming back fix that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it happened when I was there too.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Why is that?
We aggressively rebound. a lot. So like
Okay.
we're a really good rebounding team. However, we have to have a better balance of flying in for offensive rebounds and getting back. And sometimes when you play teams like South Carolina and NC State, like you have to have that balance, and that's a hard thing to do because at 1 second your mind is like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get ripped if I don't go get this offensive rebound, and then 2 seconds later, full Wiley from South Carolina is blasting up the court full speed in transition and taking it over your post player. So I think that when you're an aggressive rebounding team, but you still want to get back in transition, you have to find a good balance.
Okay. Yeah, the rebounding piece makes a lot of sense there. I mean, look, it's a give and take, right? Like if you're going to be the type of team, like if you're going to be the type of team that crashes, you're just going to have to do that. So it is what it is. I mean, the problem too is like you're an aggressive rebounding team. You also have Hannah who turns the ball over at a fairly high rate, she's an aggressive player. That's another thing. It's like your main ball handler is like, she's going, right? Like she's going to try to thread the needle. She's going to try to take chances, right? And so that leads to transition opportunities. You're turning the ball over a good amount. So, right. I mean, maybe that it's like you can lessen the transition. You can lessen the transition opportunities for the opponent if you're being a little bit safer with the ball as well. Just don't give them the opportunity to get out and run. Luckily, Notre Dame's a pretty good shooting team, so there's not a lot of rebounds, which leads to transition and things of that nature. One last thing you mentioned before we started here, you're going to be out there for the Muffet McGraw is going to get her statue on the 17th, which is Sunday. The game against Purdue. We talked about it a little bit when we spoke to Muffet. But I just one more thing before the game happens. Like, how cool is that going to be? How cool is that going to be for you? I assume there's going to be a ton of former players there. So it's just like, tell me what that's going to be like, what you think that's going to be like, kind of what that night means to you personally, and how you're going to take that in.
Yeah. So obviously a very special moment. This is, what she deserves, and everything that she teaches, and her influence is all coming to life because she is a female getting a statue on a college campus, which obviously our world needs more of that, and needs to recognize the successful women. And Notre Dame doing that is huge. She had a great support system the whole time she was here. And now they're showing her what she deserves to get after bringing all those wins to Notre Dame. So it's always really nice to see somebody get their roses and get the recognition that is beyond deserved, even off the court. Just like I told you before, the dimes of wisdom dropped. Her presence, what she gives back, what she teaches, what she does, and just the person that she is. So a very special moment for her. And obviously I have a personal relationship with her. So does my family. So it's nice to see someone that influenced us so heavy. I'm so happy that I get the chance to be there. And then all the women's basketball alumni coming back is going to be really fun to see. I don't know which ones will be there. I think of a few that are more local that I know, but outside of that, I heard that there's a bunch more coming back, which would be cool. It's kind of like a family gathering out there this weekend. They get to take on Purdue on Sunday. I don't think we really feel the rivalry, but like I heard there was a past rivalry with Notre Dame and Purdue, and like it's funny because around campus, like everyone's making it a huge thing, and some of the women on the team were like, I'm confused. Like, when were we like enemies with Purdue? And I was like, guys, like it goes back. Like, don't worry about it, But
there's levels.
Right. Purdue coming in to our house will be really fun. And obviously everyone's going to get up for that game because there's something special that's happening that day to somebody that is a part of the reason that we are playing on that court in Purcell with a great head coach and the opportunities that we get because of Coach McGraw. So it will definitely be a full circle moment. I hope to see Coach McGraw's family there too. That'll be fun. And I'm excited. Like I said, I mean, who doesn't love a family gathering? And I'm sure there'll be food and wine after and all that good stuff.
I mean, she's a Hall of Famer. Like she's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. So it's just, and I think that I think that needs to be known, right? Like she is like a literal Hall of Famer within the basketball community, like not just the women's. I'm talking about like the Naismith Hall of Fame, not the NCAA, Hall of Fame or anything like that. So, she's a legendary figure in the sport, period. And so, I think people would say, long overdue or whatever. I think it was always kind of known she would get one. I don't know why, I don't know the machinations of when you get one or who decides when or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's just the fact of the matter is it's super deserving. I think people need to know, people like girls who go to the games now, need to know who that is. And I kind of understand the meaning of that because my daughter, we live very close to Long Beach State. So my daughter plays for the Long Beach State club team. She plays for Beach. And so we go to the games all the time, right? And so she looks up to those girls. And so for if there was a coach who was a national figure within women's soccer, within US soccer, period, you would want her to, I would want her to know who that is. When she goes to the games, who is that? Who is this statue? Oh, that's Muffet McGraw. She is one of the best coaches in the history of the game, period. And so that's good to have right outside the doors, and it's awesome. I think it's great, right? Beyond obviously Notre Dame used to be an all boys school, right? And so now there's a statue of a woman going outside the arena. So I think that's great as well. But just, you should celebrate the great people that are a part of Notre Dame. She's still a part of Notre Dame. She teaches a class on leadership at Notre Dame, right? So she's still a part of that community. So it's going to be awesome. I'm very excited for it. And it's great I think it's great for you, right? It's great for your family, your sisters. Yeah. And for the current ladies on the team. So it's going to be great. Everyone tune into that. So we're going to end it there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back probably next week sometime. The holidays are coming up. You know how that is, right? So if Dara is off, who knows? She may not even be working. She may not be relaxing. She's off working, doing whatever it is she does. She's hustling. Dara's always hustling. We need to get you on Hit and Hustle because you live the name. Yeah. You live the name. So we need to get you on that show. But thank you, everyone. If you like what you heard, hit the like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. We'll be back next week sometime. And in the meantime, we'll talk to everyone very, very